Around the Cabin is recorded before a live internet audience. Be part of the show. Post comments and questions to the host and other viewers. Go to aroundthecabin.com/campfire.
Bunch of redneck Robin Hoods. Bunch of redneck Robin Hoods. Hey, we're living good. Back in the woods.
And we should be live back up in the room. And it's time to give the Canning Diva a ring. Let's see if we can get her up here. Now, I have to warn you, she's feeling a little bit under the weather. She had a little bit of a sore throat, she said. We're losing her voice. That's horrible. That's horrible. A woman without her voice. That's imagine what that would be like. Oh, wait a minute. That would be heaven. Oh! Oh, did I say that? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, she caught me.
And listen, it's just about all the way back. It's a lot better.
Oh, well, crud. I mean, that's great. That's great. That's what.
Very funny.
No, I didn't do it.
This morning, usually when you're sick and you're fighting a cold, like if you have that sore throat, when you wake up in the morning, first thing, you know your voice isn't going to be good. But by around the time I messaged you, it was like noon, 1 o'clock or something. I'm like, okay, it's not back yet. So I hardly talked at all today. I was drinking honey and gargling and doing everything. And honestly, I sound like I'm almost myself. So that's not too shabby, I guess. But I'm still a little tired. My eyes are itchy. So I couldn't get my contacts in. So this is what I look like with my glasses on.
I can't wear contacts. I
don't mind them.
They drive me nuts. I couldn't wear contacts.
Yeah, they're fine for me, but it just with everything I've got, I think it's a combination of like a cold, and I don't think it's allergies because it's still 20 degrees outside. It's freezing here, so it snowed all day today.
Well, it's going down to 38 right now. I mean, I was wearing sandals, and it was 70 degrees the other day, and I had the windows open, and I contacted you that day. I had all that stuff, and you were complaining you had snow out there still.
Yeah, jealous.
I caught you when you were going out the door, and so no, it's okay, So now it's back down. I'm supposed to get 2 to 4 inches of snow tonight. And I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah. So. See, and that's I think where it got me. We got upwards of 45 degrees. It was getting close to 50, and I was like, this is awesome. And I just ran around with a long sleeve shirt on, and I think by exposing, like, bacteria starts coming alive at that temperature. Snow was...
call your mother and tell her to make sure you wear a sweater out of the house. There you go.
I know. She's still here with me, by the way, but she's off watching Fox News right now and hanging out with my dogs and relaxing. She's... Yeah, but she says hi to everybody.
That's good. Well, hello back to Mom. There we go.
Yeah, she's pooped. I hope I'm not getting her sick. That's for darn sure. We're pretty healthy, but I'd feel horrible.
Sharing the illness. That's what families are for.
Yeah, right. Sharing everything and swapping germs too, huh?
Yeah. I got some questions I want to ask you about pickling.
Sure.
Let's talk about when you pickle something, you're putting it. Now let's see. It's a brine, right?
Correct.
All right. So what? Tell me little bit about like the brine and pickling and fermentation and all that good stuff.
Okay. Well, I mean, pickling dates back to, I mean, my gosh, centuries and centuries ago. Chinese, pretty much kind of, I think, is when it started getting recorded, I guess would be the best way to put it. There's a lot of health benefits to it, and utilizing vinegar and salts preserve the food. And actually, what I appreciate about it is it's actually bolstering the vitamin A within the food. And then it's also maintaining vitamin C levels, especially if you pickle food and don't cut it.
You remember the old show MASH?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's one part where the Koreans are burying a urn out in the thing, and Frank Burns, you remember who Frank Burns was? Frank Burns saw them and thought they were planting a bomb. So they went out there and they dug this thing up and they got it, they opened it up and everything else. And Alan Alda looked at him and he goes, "My God, man, you have discovered kimchi." Which is sauerkraut that they put in there. So every time we talk pickling, that comes up in mind that he discovered sauerkraut.
I mean, and honestly, and that's a great example. Back when they were building the Great Wall of China, in order to give the men the nutrients required because they worked them like dogs. They fed them, salted and fermented vegetables.
Well, that was the early way of preserving, right? I mean, that's what they did.
Right. It's made vinegar usually because you can make your own vinegar as well. It's salt as well as vinegar, and it's a ratio thing. So when I teach canning classes, I specifically teach a pickling class because there is a method to the madness. The one thing you don't want to do when you pickle is deviate from a recipe because somebody has painstakingly figured out the ratio of water, vinegar, and then salt to properly penetrate the food in which you're pickling. But
I don't like that much salt in my diet, so can't I omit some of that salt?
Not with pickling. You have to keep your ratio.
Good to know. That's an important thing. I don't like mine that salty, so I'll just omit part of this salt. No.
That could actually spoil your vegetables or your fruit, whatever it is you're pickling. Now, if you take salsa, for instance, and the recipe says, 2 tablespoons of salt, you can omit that entirely because salsa really isn't a pickling. I mean, yes, there's vinegar in there, but you're relying on the acid from the tomatoes and other items.
It's not long-term.
Long-term, fine too, because
because you omit the salt, it'll still last long-term?
Correct, because you're not relying on the salt in that particular recipe to pickle or preserve or ferment it. You're relying on acidic value, time, and temperature to preserve it long-term. So pickling is the only one that there really is a lot of math to it, and again, somebody went through that painstaking process. Back before Napoleon, because Napoleon, it was in his era that actually home canning and preserving became a science and a usable science in the home kitchen. Prior to him, ways in which things were pickled were like the kimchi, that example of utilizing salts and high acidic items, vinegar, whatever it was that they used, and then burying it into the ground to allow the earth's natural heat to cause it to ferment. And fermentation is obviously giving your body back all those probiotics. So what I was happy to share with you guys tonight is I have a recipe I was going to walk you through. I had no voice, so I couldn't tape a darn thing. So I'm going to do my best with my laptop in my kitchen. But then I also want to share with you and show you some of the other things that I've pickled. I personally prefer doing raw sauerkraut. So I allow fermentation to take place in the jar by keeping it on my pantry or my kitchen countertop for 3 days, for 72 hours. Then I move it to cold storage. Back before home canning, all of that crock method, like Cleopatra and Caesar and all of back in those eras, they did a lot of pickling by using their pocket jars, and they kept it dark and cool, and kind of like that whole crock pot sauerkraut, that whole way of preservation where you're relying heavily on salt and not so much on vinegar. You're relying more on the salt and the fermentation. That's how they did all of their pickling before they started adding, the
Lee
heat.
in the chat room would like to know, is pickling is probiotic?
Pickling isn't, fermentation is.
Okay.
So there is a little bit of a difference because it's the way in which it's preservation of food versus the breaking down and the fermentation. What that byproduct is giving us is actually nutritious to our flora in our gut. Whereas pickles, you're getting more of a vitamin A and a vitamin C attribute. And that's just mainly through the use of the vinegar doing the preservation. So that even though fermentation and pickling can be talked about in the same conversation because they're similar, those are the main nutritional differences.
All right.
Good question.
Now, you mentioned the acid and, having a balance there with what, pH, I guess?
Correct. So the importance to the brine ratio. Let me show you, for example, and I brought this up the last time we spoke. These are pickled dilly beans. So now when you're pickling a carrot, it's a root crop, correct? So it's going to be very solid and dense in the center. The ratio, if I remember...
Hey, we could call those big dirtification carrots because they're dense in the center. Oh, no, I'm sorry, dirt. I'm sorry. Never mind. Go ahead.
Wait, ex-husband what? No, just kidding. Just kidding. Sorry, that was funny. Okay, just kidding. Because of their density, you're looking at a ratio of, I believe it's 4 cups of vinegar and a half a cup of salt. When I do, let's see here, pickling fruit is considered a chutney. So when I am making, this is one of my recipes I created. This is called blonde curry apple chutney. My ratio of salt is now at a flavor level. I'm incorporating vinegar, water, sugar, and salt. See, pickling doesn't have to just be dill. It doesn't have to just be one particular flavor. With pickling, once your ratio is set for the particular food in which you're having to preserve or pickle, you can get as creative as you want. And that's one thing I love about pickling. There is some math and science to it, so you don't want to deviate from the recipe with respect to the brine ratio, but you can get as creative as you want with respect to the seasonings. And that's a lot of fun for individuals who may not like dill pickles. They would prefer them to have more of that sweet pickle flavor with the cloves and the allspice. Others want things hot and spicy. And these carrots here, what I tell people to do, if you want a little kick, go ahead and add some red pepper flake. So, I mean, there's different things you can do.
Now,
Tonight,
some of the guys in the room are talking fermentation is controlled rotting.
correct.
Salt can be used in canning of meat for deer and moose. Cukes are my favorite. Love pickles. Sugar is also a preservative.
Correct.
So pickling is not a one thing for all.
Correct. And that's why tonight I wanted to show you a relish. When people think of, pickle relish, it's always revolving around cucumbers. And I'm not anti-cucumber. I love cucumbers, but...
Wait a minute. You know what my favorite relish is?
What?
Corn relish.
That's what we're making tonight!
Yeah. She didn't tell me that either. My buddy's mother used to make corn relish that we put on the hot dogs and the whole. Oh man, corn relish. Oh.
I even add a couple tablespoons to my egg salad sandwich.
Oh man.
Instead of doing pickle relish, I do the home-style corn relish. I even use it when I make eggs and bacon in the morning.
Oh.
I'll even throw a little bit of that on the side of the plate and just kind of use it to
eggs and bacon and salsa for me, but that's just yeah.
I like that too.
All right. Well, we were talking about salts. Now, I know because I'm a big fan when I tell people when they're going to store stuff for long term. Mm-hmm. You're putting up food. Let's say we're making our larder or putting up our pantry for a couple of years or whatever. One of the things I always tell people is don't forget to include the salt.
Correct.
Now, I prefer buying sea salt for my uses for taste and other things that I can grind down or whatever, use it more salt. But what about different salts for pickling? Do I need a pickling salt? Can I use iodine salt? Can I use sea salt? I mean, can I go downstairs and get the rock salt out of the big spreader? I mean, what's the deal?
Okay, so there is a method to that madness as well, and I'm glad you brought that up because salt plays a huge role, and to have the wrong salt that either doesn't dissipate properly or maybe prevents actually the process.
So I guess rock salt's out.
Yes, those items could actually be of a detriment to the fruit and to the food, and it won't preserve properly, and it'll actually end up rotting, and not in a good way. So the best would be pickling salt or Mediterranean sea salt. Now, I tell individuals when I teach, your canning salt is inexpensive. It's a large grain. They purposely made it for canning and pickling. It'll say it right on the box, canning and pickling.
Is it expensive?
No, and that's what I like about it. It's not expensive.
Is it compared to iodized salt or, should we say the blue round thing salt?
Table salt, yeah. Let me show you why you can't use that, okay?
Boy, I'm happy now. She's making corn relish. I don't know. I'm just ecstatic.
All right, so iodized table salt. Let me read you what's in it. Salt, sodium.
That's it, right? Just salt.
I wish. Sodium silicone, aluminate.
Wait a minute, sodium what a huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sodium disulfate and potassium iodide. Basically, they put additives in table salt to avoid it from clumping because it's sitting out in the elements, typically on your table or countertop. It's exposed to heat influx. It's exposed to sunlight.
I thought that's why we put rice in a container. So
you would think that would work all the time, but it really doesn't. Yeah. Yes, it works, but it would be far better than the chemicals if you ask me, frankly. But the reason you can't put that and use that when you pickle products is it does not, first of all, it's not a large enough grain, so you're not getting the high quantity of salt that's required. And number two, it's going to mucky up and cloud the items because everything is going to stay clear unless, of course, you use your sugars are darker that have more of a natural molasses color to it, and that's typical with your cane sugar. I personally use cane sugar that has been the least amount processed, so it has a nice brown hue to it. Not too brown, but brown enough. Still does a decent job in pickling. But not only from a cloudy standpoint, now the whole point with canning and preserving is you're controlling what is going into your body, and some individuals really do care. I really do.
So a pickling salt or a sea salt works really good.
Correct. And see, what I like about Mediterranean sea salt is exactly what you said. I get mine from Costco. It's pure fine grained sea salt. Now
what's in that?
Salt. Natural sea salt.
That's it.
That's it.
There you go. I like that already. There you go.
Then, if you're worried that you don't have, I hope you guys can see this. If you're worried that your grain isn't large enough, that's a fine grain. I just don't, when I measure it, I don't like wipe off the top. Do you know what I'm saying?
You don't level it off.
Don't get too crazy. No,
yeah.
I always give it a little bit extra because I know these grains are so small. I want to make up a little bit of that difference. Or you can buy coarse salt. I don't know if you guys can see those fine, pretty racks. Can you see that?
Up a little higher. There you go. Yep. And grind it yourself?
Yes. And I like doing that because then that way, in my point, I have grinders that I use that are not for the intended use, but they work phenomenal.
Coffee grinders do spices wonderful.
Mm-hmm. I do my flaxseed in it. I do my own mustard seeds so I can get mustard, the powdered mustard. I do my salt. Cleaning it can kind of be a pain in the butt, so typically I'll run the salt through there as a way to clean it, kind of like I used to do when I was a waitress. We would clean the coffee pots by adding salt and ice cubes to the bottom of it, of the glass coffee pot. We'd shake it out, a lemon in there. It's the same concept with your coffee grinder, but because you can't submerge it. But anyway, salt plays a huge role, so make sure you're getting the quality of ingredient. It goes back to what I was saying earlier. If you want to watch what you're eating and you want to know where your food comes from, know where it comes from. And if you can't pronounce half the things on the label, you probably shouldn't be eating it.
There you go.
But to each their own.
Well,
So.
I got a message in the back here, but they said pickling. They love pickles in a jar, and pickling, buying the pickles, and canning pickles, and all that stuff. But there's different ways of, or should I say, different methods of pickling, isn't there? Because
Correct.
I mean, as we talked about, using the big crock or whatever.
Correct. There are different ways, and the popular ones are utilizing that crock. And what you're doing is that brine that is created, things stay submerged in that salty brine. It's a far more salt type of pickling process. You have to skim off all of that foam and scum that occurs, and you're allowing it to just take its time in a warmer environment, usually about 30 days in a crock. And then from there, everything gets rinsed and then packed into jars and processed. Excuse me.
That better be water. No, I'm just kidding.
It's water. I thought about making tea, but it is getting late here, and I don't need to be up.
I've got some. I've got some Johnny. I've got some Johnny Walker down here in case my throat starts bothering me. It's
Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, that make this a really fun show. If I had some Hennessy over there and some Jack Daniels.
Well, it was a pickling show. I figured no.
Okay.
wrong kind of pickle. What is
Oh yeah, let's
Okay.
pick my
Well, I was gonna say you got the crock stuff.
practice one. Then your cold storage methods. I have friends that really enjoy that simple refrigerator type pickle. It's quick, it's easy. For them, they don't mind. They have a whole separate refrigerator that they devote to raw sauerkraut and those types of pickles and things that they don't mind that can be devoted to cold storage. It works well. However, God forbid they lose power or, and don't have a generator, or we lose power for a long period of time. Then they kind of lose out on all that food. Or I've told her, if you have to, go get that campfire of yours, that bonfire started, and get your water bather out there and just, boil.
Can everything.
Mm-hmm.
I've got. That reminds me. Rich Young mentioned he saw somebody who was canning over a rocket stove.
Oh, fine.
And he said it's on YouTube, and he wanted to make sure you knew about that.
Oh, thanks.
So,
I'll have to take a look. Yeah.
What is quick pickling?
I guess it's kind of goes along with that. What is the saying? What is it? Sunshine pickles or the outdoor pickles, where you're allowing them to ferment in the sunlight. And you're basically sticking them outdoors. You're jump starting that fermentation process. So you're now blending the fermentation with the pickling, but then you're still processing them.
It's a controlled rot in a jar.
Correct. And then you process them and they can stay on your store shelf. You don't have to cold store them. So I thought, well, that was interesting. I personally haven't tried it because for me,
sounds like a crock. I mean, no.
It's like, why would I want to that outside? I don't know. There are quick methods. I did one. There's another one this summer that I did, 2 summers ago, I should say, with my cousin Erin. She came up and we did pickles. We let them soak in a brine for an hour, and a brine being just water and salt with a high ratio of salt.
Right. Gave him a saltwater bath.
Gave it a saltwater bath. Let it soak for an hour. Then we drained, rinsed thoroughly, and then packed into jars. Then we had a separate brine that we then poured over the pickles and then processed them in a water bath. That is also considered a quick pickle because you're not waiting that 30 days in a crock. You're actually just giving it that hour on the countertop in a very strong salt brine.
Personal opinion, favorite pickle?
My favorite pickle, don't laugh, but I'm a pickled asparagus pickle eater. I'm not a cucumber pickle eater.
You're not,
but
okay,
if you wanted it to be a cucumber.
Yeah, okay, favorite, well, let me tell you. Go ahead.
Sweet little ones.
Sweet gherkins?
Yeah, the gherkins, the little ones, yes. Those are my favorite.
I'm a bread and butter fan.
Those are good too.
Yeah.
Cucumbers, I don't know, as I'm getting older, they give me the burps.
Yeah.
So
I think I know our taste changes as we get older, so more sophisticated. We're not getting strange, we're getting more sophisticated. So you have stuff like, that's it. Your tastes aren't getting strange, you're getting more sophisticated.
I can go for that.
Yeah, so asparagus, those kind of things. Yeah.
Let me show you. Yeah, if you want, I know I wanted to show you that the corn relish.
Yeah.
While we're on it, I'm going to skip and show you just a few fun, easy pickled products.
All right.
We can discuss them after the show, but because you brought up asparagus, I wanted to.
You brought up asparagus. I just asked you what the favorite one was.
I brought it up. You asked me what my favorite was. So what I want to make sure I get out to all of you is those of you that are pickling asparagus. I had somebody tweet me a picture and say, "Oh my goodness, why is it so wrinkly looking? What am I doing wrong? And can I get my asparagus stop wrinkling up?" So I just want to share this with you guys while we're talking about pickling stuff, and then we can go to some of the others.
It looks like your toes in the shower. It's all wrinkly.
It's all wrinkly.
Yeah.
Or wait, what's that movie? Have you guys seen Dennis the Menace? That Walter Matthau was Mr. Wilson, and Dennis was staying at the neighbor's and was taking a bath, and she's like, "We ready to get out, Dennis?" Looks at his hands and he goes, "No, I'm not wrinkled up yet." So yeah, that's kind of the concept. What I tried to share and made sure that she understood is just that doesn't go away. That's a very normal, natural process. These are a year and a half old, and they still are wrinkled. Now, over time, the vinegar, I guess, tends to soften the wrinkling some. Not enough to make it pretty again, if you will. Because when they go into the jar, they're absolutely gorgeous. Everything's just perfect, a nice, bright, vibrant green. Asparagus, to me, is lovely, especially if you do the purple. That's even prettier.
Ooh, yeah.
But, yeah, the purple asparagus. But they get shriveled up. It is what it is. But these are my favorite because I made them a little hot and spicy. Again, going back to
you like that hot and spicy stuff, don't you?
I do. Well, because I enjoy a Bloody Mary from time to time.
There you go.
And I like to play with the flavors. And the hot and spicy, it's just more refreshing to me because I want there to be a difference in flavor when I'm enjoying some of these pickled items. I eat a lot of asparagus fresh and do a lot on the grill in the summer especially. When I pickle something, I want it to taste different, and I want to enjoy it in different ways. So
you make your own sriracha?
Sriracha?
Sriracha, hot sauce stuff?
No. I've got a friend of mine that I went to college with. He's always posting on Facebook. I swear, one of these days, he's going to just or fry his throat right out because some of the concoctions I hear him come up with, I think he just tries to top the hottest thing. They actually go around and do some competition.
Yeah. Well, there's a big difference between hot stuff and flavor, and I prefer flavor more so than hot stuff.
Me too.
Yeah, if I have to eat it where I have to curl my lips back, it's not worth eating. I had a guy brought me, actually I went to a place, one of the churches where I donate my time giving out food during the week. Usually it's every Tuesday. I go in the morning to donate my time to hand out food on Tuesdays, different places around here. And one of the guys around here brought blueberry hot sauce.
Oh. What did he heat? What was the heat ingredient?
I don't know. It was very hot. And I ate it, and he assumed that I was part of the spawn of Satan because it didn't bother me that much. But the idea is when you eat something like that, you put it past your lips before you bite on it. Otherwise, it actually numbed the inside of my mouth a little bit. Yeah, you get it past your lips. So it wasn't bad, but I said, the heat's there. Definitely a lot of heat.
Yeah.
But there wasn't a whole lot of flavor. I mean, I could taste a little bit of berry, and I was disappointed. And he was like, geez, the idea was to get a whole lot of heat. And I said, well, you got the heat. I said, but the berry, I mean, that's what makes it for me.
Yeah. See, now I would have appreciated had you said the berry flavors came out. It was delicious.
No, it was heat.
It's not tasty. I guess, I don't know, call me a palate snob, but I want to hit all the areas in my mouth. I don't want to fry them off.
No, that's what it was. It was frying it off, and it wasn't that. But, he picked the wrong billy goat to try and feed it to. And I said, it was all right. And he wanted to know if I wanted it. And I said, no, because it doesn't have enough flavor.
Now you got me thinking I'm going to have to experiment with that because I've got, I am working on some sauces. I have a carrot peach peppery salsa that I created. But I've also pureed it to make it into like a hot sauce, a dipping sauce. It's not overly hot. You can taste the peaches. It has that peppery flavor. It's tangy. Tangy's probably...
You got a Kroger's up there by you?
Down in the Detroit area, yep. A couple hours from me. Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, if you get down there next time, go into the ethnic food area.
Okay.
And look for the mango salsa that Kroger's themselves make and sell.
Oh.
And it's okay. It's not really hot, but it's very fruity. And it's a nice difference for a salsa. I like that fruit salsa kind of thing more so than just traditional. And it's just a change. Just, palate change overseas, stuff like that.
Right.
But
I make my own.
All right, so pickling.
I just get an idea and a flavor, but yeah. All right, so bear with me, guys. I'm going to walk you over to my stove, and I'm just going to kind of touch on this recipe a little bit. It's very simple. So for those of you who are new to canning or have never tried making corn salsa or corn relish, excuse me, I'm talking about salsa. That's all that's on my brain. So for those of you that this is a new recipe, I wanted you to follow me along. It's very simple. It's very delicious. I'll show you the finished product, and I'll show you the steps. But you'll also get to see why brine is important. And even though relish I'm not doing a lot of liquid, okay? The liquid is reserved for things like pickles because they have to be completely submerged. They have to be completely surrounded by a liquid. With a relish, we don't want it to be overly liquidy because eventually that's going to wind up somewhere close to a bun or bread or some type of food item that is you don't want it to be liquidy. It's going to make it disgusting. So one benefit tonight, we're giving away a container of my canning gel. So for those of you in the chat room, we're going to be picking a number here in a little bit, and somebody will win a jar of this. What's fun is you don't think that canning gel can be used in so many different variety of ways. So I really wanted to show this recipe, not only because we're talking about pickling, but you can remove a little bit of that excess liquidity from relishes without distorting the pH value or making it so thick that the heat won't properly penetrate through it. So we're going to use a little bit of canning gel tonight too, so you can see it in action.
All right. Well, take us for a walk.
Ready? All right. Oh.
Corn relish. No.
Wow, how exciting. I don't know if I need to elevate you guys. If I do, I will. Speak out and I will.
We can see the burner and part of the counter. We're good.
All right, cool. So essentially what you're starting with, can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. What you're starting with is your brine, okay? So in this case, we're going to start with 4 cups of white vinegar. Now, white vinegar, for those of you new to canning, any vinegar that you use for that matter, anything you're using to increase that pH value, which is what pickling is, it has to be a 5% acidic value.
Now, wait a minute. Could I use apple cider if I wanted?
Yes, you can. Now, it's going to discolor this recipe just a touch. It's going to make it a little bit more brown than yellow. But, yes, you can, as long as it's 5% acidic value. Okay,
that means don't buy the El Cheapo stuff unless it says 5% on the bottle.
Correct.
You got to read that, people.
Now, for this brine, we're going to rely on sugar. We're going to use 1 1/4 cups of sugar. And, again, you're going to see in my recipes it's going to say raw sugar because that's what I prefer. Now, if that's not something that you gravitate to, then by all means, you can use whatever sugar works for your budget and your taste buds. My brown organic raw sugar is just a little bit brown of a hue, but it's not going to distort the colors that bad. And then you're going to also want to add your salt. Now, I had my salt, and then we talked about it.
You took it back over there. There you go.
Took it back over there. I'm going to use pure sea salt, and this sea salt is from the waters off of Brazil's coast. And this is not going to require a lot of salt. Sorry, I'm losing my voice.
That's all right. Off Brazil's coast. I better call Giuliano and tell him to make more salt.
And like I said, because it's a finer grain, I did not measure that perfectly. I made sure it was just a little bit in excess because I do not want to lose any of that salt content. And it's not going to be overpowering in flavor. Now, the goal with your brine is we're going to infuse this vinegar with the salt and the sugar.
I'm jealous already because you got a gas stove and I have electric.
Oh, yeah. I don't think I could home can or cook with a electric stove. I would go crazy.
Yeah, well, it's not much.
Hey, you make it work. You get used to it. I understand that part, but
Yeah, you never get used to it. Trust me.
No. Oh,
I have a 2-burner propane one that I keep just for a special thing. So.
oh yeah, I believe that.
Yeah.
Now, we're going to let this come to a boil, and I'm going to continue to stir it. But what I want to tell you, I've already went ahead and did. I'm going to show you this because it's so gorgeous. Look at all of this. Can you see that?
Peppers and onions and corn.
Yes. We are relying on 4 cups of bell peppers. I chose red and green because you want to add a little bit of color to this.
Now, that's 4 cups of chopped red and green peppers?
Correct.
Combination or 4-cup red, 4-cup green?
No, a combination. So what I have found that 1 large bell pepper will typically yield 2 cups of chopped bell pepper.
Okay.
So I got away with just buying 2, like 1 of each, 1 red, 1 green bell, perfect. And I yielded my 4 cups. So it worked out perfect. You're also going to want to have 8 cups of your
corn?
Kernels, your corn kernels. Now, you can use frozen. So
any onion in there?
Oh, yes. There's a nice cup of onion. There's also a cup and a half of celery. And I tell people definitely include, that's almost done. So that's the benefit of gas. Also include all those gorgeous leaves. Do you see some of that? It is going to be phenomenal when it, can you see that? Some of the leaves of the celery, make sure you include that as well. And then that's pretty much it. You don't have to add a lot to this. What comes next afterwards is pretty much the seasoning.
No, we can get this recipe off your website, correct?
Yep, go to canningdiva.com. The recipe's there, and I also give you several different ways in which you can utilize it. That's one of the benefits working with me is I don't expect anybody to get the canning bug, put up all these jars, and then go, well, I don't know what to do with this. I give you ways to actually utilize the foods in which you home can, and you'll be surprised how many things you can incorporate into meal creation.
You take some of that corn relish and put it on your hot dogs, put it on your hamburgers, stick it in your... my buddy likes to take it and put it in his mac and cheese.
Oh, I'm so going to try that now. Oh, yeah.
Not that box stuff either. Some really nice shells with some grated cheese in there, and it's, oh, yeah. And then he throws in a little bit of, like a cup or so of the corn relish in with that and mixes it all together, and oh, man.
That sounds good. Now, the trick with the corn relish is you want to keep things hot. Now, I've got everything just about to a boil in here. One of the keys, after everything is dissolved, is you don't want to just dump everything in there all at once. What I tell people to do is get a nice sized bowl like you saw here, mix everything by hand so everything's kind of, you can see all the colors are mixed in well. Because you have to gradually add this and keep this at a boil. It's going to be a little tricky at first, and don't feel bad if, unfortunately, it stops boiling and it takes a couple seconds to reboil. Wait until it reboils and then continue to add more of the mixture. We don't want this to simmer too long. We want this to be a quick process, okay? So if we dump this all in, it could probably take upwards of 10 minutes before
you're back up to cooking or
to a boil, and by then we've got too much liquid loss. It's going to take longer. I don't know. Can you guys see me a little bit?
Yeah, we're good.
I feel like you're talking to my belly button or something.
Oh.
Or staring at my belly button. Okay. So now that we've got this at a boil in here, I'm just going to I'm going to eyeball about a cup worth.
There you go.
Make sure that's still boiling. I guess that's the benefit, too, though, of gas rich. So if you try this at home with an electric stove, really get that at a full rolling boil because it's hard to control the heat with an electric.
Now, Lee says it would be a nice spread on his bread. Well, it's not. It's going to be chunky like this, Lee. It's not going to be a spread. You're going to have kernels and pieces of onion and pieces. It's not going to be spread. It's going to be chunky stuff.
Right. It's just like a pickle relish, but what we're doing instead of cucumbers is we are doing the corn, the peppers, the onions, and the celery. What I will say, and that's a good point, I'm glad you brought up the texture and consistency, is you want to cut things to be as close to like size as possible. The corn kernels are going to be small, So you don't want to have huge wads of peppers and onion in there. You want to try and make it uniform, because eventually this will be maybe on top of a hot dog or a piece of bread or
in your mac and cheese. Yeah.
I can't wait to try that. I'm excited. I have some open actually in the refrigerator.
Mac and cheese.
I'm totally doing that. So no, I have corn relish in the fridge.
Yeah. Even if it's the blue box stuff, it can only make it better. But you know, you take that and put that in there. Now, I like corn relish, and then if I was doing it, I would add 1 hot pepper or something like that, just to give it a little chunk. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Now you could add a couple I wouldn't add more than a half a cup of jalapeno, because we've got 4 cups of vinegar. Our ratio should still be okay. Any more than that, jalapenos actually have a lower pH than a strawberry. So you got to be careful that you don't add too much of something that could distort the pH value. A half a cup of jalapeno would be fine. A jalapeno is about a 6.2 pH value. We have 4 cups of vinegar, and then onions about a 6, peppers are about a 5. I wouldn't deviate more than maybe a half a cup. Excuse me.
I was thinking like a quarter cup of like habanero or something like that, or a quarter cup of poblano or something. You know, something.
Now, poblano, that would be okay. Granted, it's not as spicy. That would add a really nice flavor. Yeah. I want to do a mac and cheese bake. I like what you were saying about the mac and cheese.
I just did a spinach. I got 8 dozen. Well, yeah, I still have 4 or 5 dozen eggs left. No, less than that. I did 2 dozen small, fresh farm eggs and did a spinach quiche kind of thing. With sausage, bacon, spinach, and eggs. Baked it in the oven the other night.
Woo! Listen to you little foodie. That's awesome.
I do all the cooking in the house. What are you talking about?
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. We're almost to this point of boiling, and this is where I want to get the last of this in here.
She didn't know I cooked. All right, now let me ask you a question, because I was doing a video on this, and I haven't posted it to YouTube yet. My opinion on, I don't know how everybody in the chat room feels. Now, of course, if your money situation varies and you have to buy your utensils from the dollar store, by all means, but I buy the best utensils that I can. So when I buy a pot or I buy a spoon or whatever, I like to go for a one-time in my lifetime purchase, and I usually go for restaurant quality stuff, but that's just me because I have a very nice restaurant supply place. Actually, I have a couple of them in my area. And so if I buy a big metal spoon, I can get it for like $5, and I don't have to worry about the rivets coming out or it rusting or anything like that.
Right.
Now I'm looking at this very nice stock pot you have.
Yeah.
And actually, I think I have one exactly like it. It has a flat lid with a dimple on the top where the handle goes in it.
Yep.
Yeah. And then I have an even heavier bottom. Some of them have a very wimpy bottom to them. I have a very, very thick 1/4-inch heavy bottom on mine.
This is a wimpy bottom one.
Right. Yeah, that's what I figured. It's the same pot I have. But it's the idea of buy it once, not have to buy it numerous times, doing the best you can. You do a lot of canning and cooking. So how do you feel about buying your supplies?
I agree with you because I look at it as it may be a significant investment on the upfront, but it is going to pay for itself over the course of time. If I reverse that and bought a cheap, not less expensive is okay. I'm all about finding a good deal.
Right.
But to buy something cheap, where your stainless steel...
Less quality, shall we say.
Cheap, okay, less quality. So your stainless steel ratios are less, the metal alloys, you know what I mean? So you can still get stainless steel, but there's different grades of stainless steel. So if you buy a lesser quality of stainless steel, the likelihood that that's going to give out on you is much higher.
Or get hot spots, things like that.
If you're dense, then yes, it's going to start causing problems. The rivets might come loose, or the rivets are not stainless steel, but the handle and the exterior are. If your rivets become rusted or loose, so there's things like that. You're going to have to repurchase the stock pot maybe a couple times during the lifetime of your culinary experience. So in my book, there are certain things I just don't skimp on, especially when it comes to my processing equipment with respect to pressure canning. My water bathers, I picked up at an estate sale for $5 a piece.
Sure. You're boiling water in it, yeah.
You're boiling water in it, and they rust easier. There's some things that no matter what way you shake it, you're gonna have to replace it.
Right.
That's what it is. But a pressure canner, no way. I'm dealing with low acidic food. I have to operate and function properly.
Well, I'm going to ask you a question later on. Just be aware that we're going to run a little bit late. I'm going to ask you a question later on because I want you to show something that you have. And that you can, here's a hint, you can get your mitts on. I want you to show that. Nobody knows about this yet, but she didn't even know about it. I'm springing this on her because I'm going to order one. Actually, I'm going to order 2 of them from her. She doesn't know it. Now, what is that?
Thank you. My waterproof, heat-proof canning mitts. I spent 9 months trying to find a product that I could put my name on. And I'm not saying I'm getting paid to even endorse it. I'm saying it's something I wanted to use and then tell other people, hey, you got to try this. What
was that you just put in there?
Mustard seed. All right, so you're going to do 2 tablespoons of mustard seed. Okay. We're going to do 2 teaspoons of celery seed, not celery powder, celery seed.
I use celery seed in my what am I trying to say?
My mom uses it in her chicken pot pie recipe. I just posted that on Facebook. So for those of you that I give out a lot of recipes on Facebook, and I do a lot of pictures and instructions. You follow me on Facebook at Canning Diva. I always have something exciting. My mom made a phenomenal chicken pot pie. So I posted that all over the place. But then I made a canning recipe so you can can it and have it sitting on your shelf to whip up. And somebody tonight just said, you should, you don't have time to make pie crust. You should just bake biscuits and dump it right over the biscuits. I was like, oh, that's awesome.
There you go. I put celery seeds in my egg salad.
Oh, that's a good idea. Okay, 2 tablespoons of ground turmeric. Turmeric is what is going to give it that yellow color. Yes, we're dealing with corn, so you would think that it would be yellow. But this is what's going to give it that really deep yellow color. And it also gives a lot of health benefits. Turmeric is phenomenal for those of you that may suffer with joint pain, arthritis. It is an excellent anti-inflammatory. And so even though we're making a relish, which is going to be topped on something or incorporated into a breakfast or an egg salad sandwich, we are getting so many health benefits from the vinegar. We're getting so many health benefits from the seasonings we're using. I mean, you can't go wrong with this dish. And it's really good. Ask Rich. It's amazing.
Yep.
All right, last but not least, before this boils for too long, again, we want to move quick. We're going to take a 1/4 cup. Let me bring this over to you. 1/4 cup of water. Okay, and it doesn't have to be hot water because the benefit of working with canning gel is it will liquefy very quickly. You don't even sometimes need to put it into water first. The reason we're doing that is everything is so chunky in here. I don't want it getting hung up, okay? So we're going to do 2 tablespoons of canning gel in a 1/4 cup of water. And this is going to thicken it up just enough. We're going to make a nice paste with this. Stirred in perfect. Look at that. What was that? 4, 5, 6 stirrs, and it's already. It's not like cornstarch where I'd have to try and fit a whisk in here to get all the clumps out. All right. So we're going to put this in here.
I can use that in my gravy, right?
Absolutely. Your gravy, your soups, your stews. My mom used it when she made chicken pot pie because she always, in the past would use cornstarch, but she knows that I have this phenomenal product now that I've repackaged.
Are you ready to give a jar of that away?
I am, because you know what? It goes so far. Typically in a chicken pot pie recipe, she would have to use 2/3 of flour to get it to the consistency you would need. She got to cut that in half by using this canning gel. So let's pick a winner.
All right, hold on. I go to random.com here. I'm going to pick this, hit the button, run through here. Number 4. Let's see. Big Dirt's number 1, Chat's number 2, Daniel Scott. Hello, Daniel, is number 3. No, we better pick another number because it says Foosball Patriot. And Foosball is actually a friend of ours who works down here at Skunkerific Studios and works down there, does the computer stuff, and that's who Foos is.
Nice.
So, Foos, you have just won a big container of canning gel.
Yep, it's a nice 1.5 pounds of canning gel. You can use it if you are a canner, or if you're cooking. Like I said, soup, stews, you name it. Wherever you would typically use cornstarch or flour to thicken a product, you can use the clear gel.
That's great. Okay, I need you to send your address and all that stuff. You know what? I'm going to go down and get his address and everything from him. We won't have to do this. But you could send it to Diane at canningdiva.com is who you could send your address, send that address to. So if you would take all your information, Foos, and send it to that right there. Just deliver it, Rich. It said send it to me and then I'll deliver it. I can do that, or he can. Well, there you go. There's the link for you, Foos, right there. Diane at canningdiva.com. Send her your real name and address and everything, and she'll do that. Or you can I can get it sent here because I've already got one coming anyway that I've ordered from her, and we're gonna go that way. They like Rich at the shop. Yeah, that's because we spend money there. That's why you like Rich at the shop. No, I'm just kidding. They're good. They're great people. That's great. That's funny.
Awesome. Congratulations. I'm excited. You're really going to love this product. And again, for those of you that aren't familiar with canning gel,
have you sent the one to me yet?
No, I have not.
Well, let's save on postage and that. Just put 2 of them together. Send it to me.
I already was planning on it. Absolutely.
And I'll just drive it right down to Foos because he's only 2 minutes down the street from me.
Okay. I'll give you guys an excuse to hang out and say hi.
That'll work? That'll work for you, Foos? We'll just have it sent here and then I'll just bring it down to you. That is awesome. And then he can show it to the guys at work and make them all mad because he won it and they weren't there.
Right.
There you go.
Here's just so you know, Foos, and for all of you who are familiar with my canning gel, it is derived from corn. Okay, it's waxy corn maize, and it's from non-GMO seeds. So the seeds were not genetically modified. They were heirloom seeds that were grown and harvested, and then the starch is gluten-free. So for those of you that have to watch your gluten intake or have celiac disease, you can feel confident knowing that you can eat this without it causing a flare in your system. You don't get that when you're buying cornstarch off the shelf. Oh. So there is a benefit to knowing where your food comes from. And in this case, I did all the research for you.
Also, is the nice part about this is this does not clump up like you said with the gravies and the other stuff, and it's good stuff.
I mean, think of the best. What I love this for the most is pie.
Lee wants to know: is it low protein?
Is it low pro? There's no protein.
No protein.
It's a starch.
It's a starch. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So the benefit is, like, for instance, pie fillings. For those of us that make our own pie fillings and home can our own pie fillings, the frustration we would have because of the cornstarches that were available in years past, we didn't have this, is that you couldn't home can using that flour or regular cornstarch. It would clump and break away and get discolored. It was quite nasty, actually. This makes such a beautiful caramelized pie filling that it's actually beautiful, and it doesn't clump up. The benefit of using this cornstarch, it's been modified and broken down. Not modified because things have been added, but broken down to where it keeps its viscosity upon high temperatures, acidic foods, and then heating and reheating, which is very common in home canning. Pie fillings are going to get heated up. They're going to get processed in a water bath. They're going to get cooled off and stuck on a pantry shelf. Well, one day they're going to go back into a pie. And that pie going back into that oven, typically that's where most cornstarches and flours would break down. They just can't handle it. They'll ooze out, and you can never get a nice piece of pie to come back out of the oven. Then let's say you have half of a pie left. It's in your refrigerator. You want that a la mode, so you're going to pop that in a microwave to heat it up. That's typically, again, where things just ooze right out and it loses that viscosity. Well, not with canning gels. So it's very popular among bakers as well. So if you're heavy into baking, it's perfect. Okay, so now what I did is I brought this back to a low, gentle boil, and I wanted it to just get a nice heat through about 5 minutes worth, because we want that clear gel, that canning gel, and all of the smells, the scents, the seasonings,
the ingredients and everything to mix and marry together.
And mesh and blend. But then we want to cut it off. Now, I'm going to show you, it's still quite runny. Okay, see that? See how it's still running?
Yep.
That's okay. You don't want it to thicken up right here. Okay? We want that to take place in the jar. Now, one trick I will do, because we are going to water bath this for more than 10 minutes. This is going to water bath. Pints are going to water bath for 15 minutes. So would your half pints. Quarts would water bath for 20.
Okay.
Because we're going to be over 10 minutes in a water bath, these are already pre-cleaned. Okay? I don't have to sterilize these in a vat of boiling water and then go through that painstaking process of draining the water out, burning, well, I have the mitts, but, I can still kind of, we don't have to go through all that. I'm going to walk this over to the sink. I'm going to allow my hot tap water to just barely get that glass hot again so that I don't have cold glass coming in contact with boiling temperatures,
right.
Okay?
Get a drink while you're over there.
I know. Is it starting to get bad?
It's starting to get bad on her. Oh, crap. Unless she's chewing on gravel again. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
She can hear that now. She can hear me talking about her. That's funny. That's funny. All right, so she's looking out her wonderful window at the wonderful snow out there on her back deck. And
Yes, I still have a lot of snow. It's ridiculous. Okay.
Now remember, she said something very important there I want to point out there, but not putting a hot product in a cold jar, okay? Not good.
Even now, surfaces are something else to keep track of. Even putting this down on, can you guys see my surface?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay.
Put it down on a cold countertop.
Get it off of a cold countertop. So if you have marble or formica or granite, make sure you have something that separates that jar so that way it doesn't get cold. All right, and then we're going to use our funnel. I'll just fill one jar for you guys.
You sell that funnel and that stuff on your website too, right?
I certainly do. Yep, at canningdiva.com. All of these canning products that you are seeing me use are available to you on my website.
Now, you'll notice there, especially point this out to my buddy Lee there, you can still see it didn't turn to mush. There's kernels there. There's onions there. There's peppers there. You can see, and it's not mushy. It's not going to ever be mushy. It's going to be firm vegetable pieces.
Correct. And this is another handy tool that I sell on my website. You should be able to get this a la carte at any area store that sells canning supplies. Those that don't offer this is why I picked it up and I sell it on my website, because it's frustrating. Headspace is huge. If you have the wrong headspace and you just eyeball it, unfortunately, that is what causes lids to not seal.
That's actually two tools in one, though, isn't it?
Yes, because you can remove the air from the jar, and you can remove the air that's trapped amongst the food particles by using the air bubble remover. And you'll be surprised when you do that and you agitate the items in the jar, how much air gets released, and you're like, holy cow, I just saw this drop 1/4 of an inch, okay? So now this recipe calls for a 1/2 inch of headspace. The reason why we need that 1/2 inch of headspace is the items don't require a lot of room to swell. They're not going to expand heavily. So we don't want to have any excess air that's not required. If these items were going to swell excessively, we would give it 1 inch of headspace, but we only need a 1/2 inch.
Now, 1/2 inch, and what you're showing us there is a graduated measurements, and those are actually marked on there too, correct?
Correct. It's all etched in there.
Okay, camera doesn't pick that up too well, but we're just showing it so it's there. And each one of those is a different height, and it's marked on there, so she knows exactly. When it just barely touches the top of that liquid, she knows that it's a 1/2 inch.
Correct. And you don't want it to submerge. That was exactly the right word. You're just barely touching the top of everything. You don't want it to be too below it, but you certainly don't want it submerged in there either. So I'm just making up the difference right now by adding what little bit I need to get it. There we go. So now that green tip is just touching the surface of the food and the liquid. And again, as you can see,
hold on a minute. Hold on.
It's not thick just yet. Okay?
Wait a minute.
All right. And the other key is
can you hear me?
Warm washcloth in vinegar. Warm washcloth vinegar to cut through the very salty brine substance that is now on the rim surface.
Hold on a minute. You're breaking up.
Oh.
Kid's catching up. Skype's having a little bit of a trouble.
Oh, okay.
So we dropped a few. It's kind of pixelating a little bit.
Okay.
It's not you. It's actually the Skype stuff, and we can't do much here. So everybody just hang on. It'll catch up. It's all got to do with connection. All right, it's getting better. Remember, she's not in the studio. You pixelated really bad there, but it's coming back. It's coming back a little bit here, a little bit there. Somebody might be downloading something or whatever else in the house. Remember
I've got nobody.
Okay.
The one thing I could do, though, is make sure that...
You don't have any other programs up? You're all right. Go ahead. It's caught up. It's caught up now. You're doing good.
Okay, good. I shut my Wi-Fi off on my phone. I don't know if that
it won't affect it.
Okay, so where we left off, I was filling the jar. The biggest thing that you want to make sure you're doing is you're using vinegar on your warm washcloth to wipe the surface rim of your jars. We're dealing with sugar. We're dealing with salt. And those items, even though you visually cannot see it, as soon as they dry on that surface, they're going to get granular and shape again. The last thing you want to do is prevent that lid from sealing, because then you've wasted a lot of time and energy and effort. Not to mention, if you don't catch it in time, you're now wasting food. Let me show you what the finished product looks like.
All right. Get one of them gloves while you're there, so we can show these gloves, because I think some of these people are going to love those gloves.
See how pretty that is? And then I want you to notice, see, there's a little bit of movement in there because relish has liquid, but it's like a gel. Do you see that?
Yep.
It's not liquidy. It's like a gel. And again, we're not trying to make this so thick that it winds up looking like you just plopped a big hunk of preserves on your hot dog. There's got to be some movement, just like normal relish, but you don't want it running. So there's a nice in-between there. But anyway, that is the corn relish. Once you open... Oh, let me get back to processing. My goodness.
Okay.
So you fill your pint-sized jars, cover them with 1.5 inches, 2 inches of water. They process in a water bath for only 15 minutes. I know I mentioned that, but the key is making sure that you do not start your timer until your water's at a full rolling boil.
And if it ever drops below a boil...
Then, unfortunately, you have to start your timer over again.
There you go.
So don't get anxious. Don't pick up that lid. Once you set that timer and you see steam shooting out, let it do its thing. It is boiling. It's doing everything it needs to. The last thing you want to do is lift that lid and be like, oh, what's going on in there? You're allowing the temperature to drop, and you don't want to do that. So just let it do its thing. When the timer goes off, just shut the timer off. Let the water calm down. Take the lid off, and then using your jar grabber, get that out of that hot boiling water. Let it cool off. And then what's nice, because this is a pickled product,
right.
Once I open it, this can stay good in my fridge for months. As long as it stays cool, you've got to keep it cold now. But yeah, just like any other pickle, it's phenomenal, and you guys are gonna love this recipe. It's on my website at canningdiva.com.
H. Witch said just bought 10 pounds of corned beef last week and put it in 11 pints. I bought a $45 piece of beef roast. Well, I put it up on my YouTube, where I've got $45 thing of beef roast that I cut up and made 10 or 11 roasts out of.
Nice.
And one of my friends said, Diane's going to say you should can that. And I said, well, I want the big roast, so I'm going to freeze it.
Yeah, that's our... You canning and pickling meat, like I grew up having that pickled herring. That's what my grandma loved. Yeah.
Creamed herring.
My grandma Newton did pickled herring and then pickled salmon. I like salmon canned with no seasoning. I don't care for it pickled. I like the flavor of the salmon.
Yeah.
I haven't had pickled herring since I was a kid. I remember it being kind of weird looking as a kid because it still had the silver skin on it.
Yeah. You get one of them gloves, and while you're going there, I'll yell something out and tell you what's going on. I got I went fishing with some friends of mine, and she said herring. I like the creamed herring, which you can get right next to the pickled herring. Unfortunately, while I was fishing, one of the guys brought these big jars of creamed herring, and he set them down on the table of the boat while we were going out. And I thought they were for snacks. Well, they had crackers there in case you felt seasick, and they had the creamed herring there. And I figured I would eat the creamed herring on the crackers, and it would be good. So I had a couple of crackers. And while I'm sitting there, one of the guys walks in and looks at me and goes, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm having some of this creamed herring on crackers. I thought that was a snack for everybody. I'm sorry." And he goes, "No, dude, the creamed herring is the bait." And I'm like, "Oh." So I'm eating the bait. I was like, "Oh, whoops." Yeah.
Oh my God, that is awesome.
That was good. Yeah. And one of the guys came in and said, "Did you really eat that creamed herring?" I'm like, "You're the only person I know that ever." Yeah, the creamed herring? No, man, no. I'm like, "That's good stuff, man."
Yeah.
Well, they were using it for bait.
That's awesome. All right, I got the gloves, but before we talk about, I just want to share, seeing we're running just a little bit late, I wanted to show something that my mom gave me.
Okay.
This is a book that was printed back, I think it says 1973 or 76.
That was a good year.
It was a good year because that's...
Don't say it.
I'm not. Nope, 1975. First printing. So this was kind of neat and special. It was, I think it was her aunt's, and then it was my mom's, and then now it's mine. But what I found fascinating was some of those older recipes, the herring, a lot of the Polish and Russian forms of ethnic pickling. They do have right in here the beef tongue, spiced pickled beef, corned beef.
Sliced beef tongue sandwiches. Oh, man, that's good.
I mean, just a pickled watermelon ball, some of the best. And what I love is they stuck true to the natural forms of pickling. They didn't have to, no offense to Ball, because Ball really does have the edge on a lot of the canning products, but they kind of got a little too crazy, if you ask me, with some of the items that are actually caustic. Like, stay away from lye. You don't need lye to properly preserve and home can fruits, vegetables, and meats. You just don't. It can be quite dangerous, especially if you don't know what you're doing. What I appreciate is they kind of they use that healthy way of preserving. Pickled eel, making your own vinegars.
Lee, go to your butcher and ask for cow tongue. They'll give you a big cow tongue, and you slice it thin and put it on there. And cheek meat from goats is very good meat too. And yeah.
I just really had to point this out. So I've been having a lot of fun perusing through a lot of the different recipes, and actually they put a lot of really good information in there about the history of pickling. They put a lot of good things in there about ways to save money. And so I'm starting to use some of this to write. I'm writing about it. So on my blogs and when I'm talking about things in classes, I've been able to incorporate a lot of this. So
I have some really old Ball books from when I was a kid that I have. And it's interesting to see the differences between now and then. I like those old cookbooks and those kind of things.
I do too. I feel like, there was a picture in there, a spread, that reminded me of my kitchen because it had the water bather and all these jars and measuring utensils and all the stuff that we would use for home canning. And I thought I would love to try and now modernize, kind of lay out what they did in my kitchen. It won't be exact, but just then put them side by side to show that here we are in 2014 and we're still doing these same things. You know what I mean? I don't know.
My mom posted a picture today of me as a child on her Facebook, and I have the old gym shorts with the white piping around the edges of them, and I have the socks. Remember the socks, guys, that went up to your knees that had like 3 different colored stripes when we were kids? Yeah, it was a black and white picture. I'm an old man, but yeah. It's funny to see some of the stuff that from that time to this time that's remained the same. Yeah, of course I look better now than I did then, but it's funny to see those different things and have those old recipe books and things like that. And a lot of those old recipe books deal with the non-GMO foods. They deal with the real foods and the real recipes without all the weird stuff.
Absolutely. I didn't even know what that was. There was no store-bought seasoning packets. I mean, heck, we didn't rely on crisping agents back then in this book. You took an actual grape leaf and you stuff that in with your pickles to make them crisp. You didn't have to go buy a chemical. You used natural means of preserving and actually enhancing the fruit and vegetable in which you were canning.
Lee says yes, he loves them old things, and Rich Young says yeah. Corduroy pants. I remember a rust brown corduroy 3-piece suit. Thank you very much. And I was the man in high school.
You were fly.
That's it. Yeah. No, we're going down the wrong road now. Okay. All right. Gloves. You have these gloves that I got to get some of these gloves. Quit laughing. Now, somebody's going to say, "Oh, I've seen those gloves in the store." Yeah, those gloves. These gloves are different.
These are orca mitts. These are...
Wait a minute. First of all, there's something different about this. Before you go into showing us exactly what this is, how much do you sell that for on your website?
I sell these now for... you don't put me on the spot.
It's like $15?
$17.99, but I offer free shipping. Because what I was doing was I had everything priced at, like, for instance, they were $15.99, so it's for $16. So what I did is I went through a lot of emails going, your prices are great, but shipping costs are too high. So what I did is I went through and kind of figured out where I need to be in order to give free shipping. So now everything I offer is free shipping, whether it's a $2 item or, a $25 item. Weight doesn't matter. So for under $20, you get a glove that's going to. I mean, this is primarily used in a lot of your high-end 4- and 5-star restaurants.
Wait a minute. They can get these gloves. They can go to your website, canningdiva.com. I think they can get there by clicking on your website through our link here. We should have that link up, I think, with Castle.
My logo, yes.
Okay, the link's up, so you can click on the link, go to the Canning Diva, order this glove. Make sure you mention around the cabin tour. You might get something. But anyway, so under $20. Now, everybody's going to say, "Oh, I've seen those gloves. It's a plastic glove." It's not. Tell me about the outside of the glove first, please.
This is all silicone. The silicone is a nice, soft, pliable silicone. They also have this really awesome gripper, because that's the other problem. We're dealing with water, and the last thing we need is to have anything slip out of our hands. So the silicone has a nice, pliable. It has a natural grip to it to begin with, but then they added these really awesome gripping nodules. Okay. The silicone is triple heat treated. It will withstand temperatures up to 480 degrees. The other thing that's nice...
480 degrees. I don't cook too many things over 480 degrees.
Think about it. Let's say you like to smoke your own meat. The benefit of that is you slip on these mitts, you can grab onto that and carry it right in the house, or go ahead and roll it in foil so it can rest, however, the hours. The other benefit is we're dealing with food, so wait a minute.
Okay, go ahead. Outside only, right?
What?
The outside of the glove only first, please.
Outside of the glove. So the best part of this is cross-contamination is huge with food. And the last thing you want to do, especially if you're a home canner like me and you've got 3 projects maybe going on at once, you're canning raw meat over here, you got corn relish over here, and you threw in pie filling because you're crazy and you want to get it all done. What's nice is you can slip these on, walk right over to the sink, and wash them off. Get a little soap on there, wash them off, because unfortunately, if you can't get that food substance off, you're now taking it from one to another. With fabric and rubber, you don't have that ability per se. So
now I'm done cooking at the end of the day. I've gone outside, I've done all this, I've rinsed them off, I've washed them off with a little soap and water. At the end of the day, I've got those things, and I go, well, yeah, I'm going to throw these on my counter, and I go, nah, what else am I going to do? I'm loading up. What can I do with those? I can do what with them?
You can load them. You can throw them right in the dishwasher.
Throw the outside of the glove right in the dishwasher.
Correct. Let me show you. There's an insert in here that comes right out. It allows you to hang it.
Lee says the most important thing right now, the silicone glove we have is too thin. That's why there's an outside and an inside. Now the inside is what, cloth?
It's just cotton, yeah. And this can go right in your washing machine. This can go right in your dishwasher. You need both in order to make them work. Now, this would still be heat resistant on its own, but not up to 480 degrees. So they have taken this glove, this insert, and given you like this dual, Now, the other thing, too, is it's waterproof. We are working around extreme temperatures when we home can.
Boiling water, steam. A lot of steam.
Steam is huge with a pressure canner. A pressure canner, your items in a pressure canner, your jars are not submerged in water. What gets it up to 250 degrees is the air, the steam, the pressure that has built up in there. When you take that lid off, even though the pressure is gone, steam burns. And I know for a fact, because I unfortunately was not paying attention, didn't put my gloves on, and I raked my hand right over the top. And I got the worst burn of my life. I was in so much pain, I almost had my 9-year-old drive me to the hospital.
No, H-Wit. No, H-Wit says asbestos insert? No, it's cotton.
No, it's cotton.
Cotton. Throw it in your washing machine. Throw one in your dishwasher. Throw the other one in the cotton in the washing machine. Wash them. Put them back together. It's a cotton.
Yeah, it's just cotton. It's just a cotton insert. But it's also waterproof, and that's why I got this. It's heat-proof and waterproof. You don't get that with a pot holder, and you don't get that with. Originally, I was using my rubber rotisserie gloves. You guys all have do you have a countertop type rotisserie at home?
Yeah.
They typically come with a rubber glove that keeps you from the heat. You can feel the heat touching your fingers, but it won't burn you. Well, that doesn't work well by the time you get in contact with 212 degrees for more than about 5 seconds. So even though I was waterproof protected, I wasn't heat protected. So it's like you couldn't get both. If as soon as your pot holder gets wet, you can't use it again because the heat will transfer through that water and you get burnt. As soon as the rotisserie glove got too hot, I was getting burnt. Even though it kept me away from water. So It was just, it was frustrating.
And I hate the cotton ones because they get the hot spots, where it gets pushed down and your one finger and that one hot spot you always grab too. That's
where all the weight is at. Now the other glove, I tried about 5 different pairs of gloves from 5 different manufacturers. And thankfully the manufacturer was very willing to give me a sample to try because I said, look, if I like it and I can use it, then I'm going to not only resell it, I'm going to tell the world about it. And they don't pay me to say anything.
Right.
I just want people to be safe. Well, I tried a glove that they said was waterproof. I stuck my hand in boiling water. The first time it was fine. What it was neoprene, like what they make wetsuits out of. The problem is they just stitched 2 pieces of neoprene together. On my second trip down into the hot boiling water, that area, and my glove started filling with hot boiling water.
Nice.
That one made me so mad. It's like I wanted to go on a mission to tell them that their labeling was actually, now misleading, but what are you going to do? I mean, I don't have deep enough pockets to make them change their labeling. I just made sure I, reported it to the Better Business Bureau, but it hurt. I got my fingertips burnt. So this has been
so for under $20, we get a glove that withstands almost 500 degrees, is washable on the outside, can be thrown into the dishwasher to be cleaned, can take the inside out and use that, and turn around, put it in the clothes washer and wash it so you don't wind up with the smell and the funk and everything else from your sweaty hands in there.
That's the other point.
And then when you get done with all that, I can also get this in multiple colors to match the interior of my kitchen.
Yes, I have 5 colors. I have pink, charcoal, green, red, and purple. So they're all nice and translucent because, again, we're dealing with silicone. This is a very high-quality silicone. The silicone pliability and flexibility reminds me of that they use in that medicinal, that medical type medical grade silicone is what it reminds me of.
And the grip is good on jars, wet glass jars and other stuff.
Yeah, no problems. Not at all.
So do I need my tongs then to reach in and get the jars out of the pot, or can I just reach in and grab the jar with that?
Yes, there's a lot of the tools that come in standard kits that I don't really even use anymore because I have these gloves. It just makes it so much easier. So instead of grabbing that tong, trying to hold on to the jar grabber, get nervous because you're like, what if I drop this? Now you can just grab it. It's easy peasy. As my daughter would say, easy peasy lemon squeezy, Mom. She's sick. She's cute.
I'm gonna pull that one on my daughter. Rich, you like pink? I do. I like pink. I put that in there. Yeah. Real men can wear anything. You should see me in my yellow shirt.
There you go. Coral.
I've got pink. No, it's pink. I've got a big breast awareness shirt too. Yeah, I don't.
Oh, good for you. Good for you.
I don't mind any of that stuff. That's right. Save the boobies.
Save the boobies.
I have one of those shirts too. Yeah, there you go. Yes, we sell those down here at the medical place down here. So.
I didn't know you were gonna highlight these, so thank you. They're
no, I believe you showed me those, and I believe in the products and the quality, and I take your word for granted the stuff that you do because you put it out there. Also, let's say your word for granted. We can find you not only here at Around the Cabin, but also at thecanningdiva.com. We can find you on the Survival Mom Network doing live radio shows, podcast, radio, whatever you want to call it. Podcast.
Those are iTunes as well. Those are recorded on iTunes. Yep.
All right. Where else can we find you?
You can also find me throughout various social media, so Twitter, Facebook. Pinterest is a lot of fun. So for those of you that are enjoying that, I have a lot of fun boards that get quite a bit of activity. And then I am finally on YouTube. So I do have 2 videos posted on my channel. I am excited to, at the beginning of April, start launching my tips in a minute. So they will all be very useful canning tips that you can watch so that you're learning as you go. And then, I'm excited to see that develop because I have a few other tricks up my sleeve with that YouTube channel. I really want to start connecting with people
Facebook?
Face to face. Facebook especially. I do post a lot of recipes on there. They get a lot of activity. And I also interact a lot on Facebook. People are constantly either messaging me or posting questions, making comments. I love Facebook because I tell individuals who follow me on Facebook to use it as a bragging platform for all of their adventures in canning. So if you have, for instance, have watched this show tonight and you enjoyed seeing how easy it is to make homestyle corn relish, and you go out there and you try it yourself, post a picture on my Facebook page. Tell everybody what you did. Brag about it, and I'll help brag with you.
And how delicious corn relish is.
Yes, I can't wait.
There you go. And your mac and cheese.
Yes, I'm doing that tomorrow. I'm not kidding. That's getting done tomorrow.
All right. Well, I think we run a half an hour overtime, and your throat survived, and you did great.
It did, yes.
Tell Mom we said hi and appreciate everything you do. And can't wait to see more from you. I'm going to have to jump over and check the recipes out myself. Some of her recipes are here at Around the Cabin. And just so you guys know, we have finalized everything with our friends over at Roku. And
Yay.
I will have a channel for you here shortly. And we will have that up and running because now I have everything in writing.
Oh, amen. Yay.
So that's all the past shows. The only thing I have to do now is I have to take every show that we have and reformat it to put it up on there. So, yeah.
I was going to say, what kind of a format is that? Because I'm only used to dealing with, like, this internet-based.
Oh, no, there's more.
It's too complicated.
Yeah,
okay.
MP4 and this, that, and the other, and all these other things. And now they have this new thing. They want me to reformat all the videos and put them up. And whatever, we'll take care of it. Don't worry about it.
Oh, I'm excited. Thanks. I love being a part of this, you guys. And by all means, any questions you have in between shows, because I am only every other Monday. I do have a calendar on my website. You can take a look at my upcoming shows. But if you have questions burning on your mind before then, you're welcome to shoot me an email or message me on Facebook. I prefer Facebook posts because more than likely somebody has your same question. They just were too afraid to ask or didn't think I would answer. I do answer, so I'd love to hear from you.
There you go. All right, well, say goodnight. We'll get out of here. I hope everybody enjoyed themselves. Congratulations to Foos in the room, and we'll get that sent out to you. She'll get it sent over here, and I'll bring it down. And you can aggravate Chuck with it, the owner of the store, and go, look what I got. So there you go.
Have a great night, everyone. Thank you.
All right. Y'all have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow night.